Well, partisan gridlock is plaguing Washington these days, and public frustration is at a boiling point. So could the emergence of a third party be far off?
Former Rhode Island Senator Lincoln Chafee recently wrote about that possibility in the New York Times, and he's giving it a try himself. He was a Republican while serving in Congress, but is now running for governor of Rhode Island as an independent. Sir, good morning.
Good morning.
I guess my first question to you is, it seems this fervor for a third party crops up every once in a while, and I wonder if those who long for an independent party have maybe misdiagnosed the problem. Is it really a problem of ideology that there are too many polls, or is the real problem folks serving in the Senate or in Congress or in governor's seats who just simply want to be reelected, and they exalt that over every other issue, and that is what really makes Americans angry, as opposed to some elusive middle ground not being represented in state houses and in Congress?
I'm sure it's a combination of all that, but here in my home state of Rhode Island, over half of Rhode Islanders are registered as unaffiliated. Most people that go into the Board of Canvassers now don't register with either political party, Republicans or Democrats. They choose to register as unaffiliated, which is independent. And what happened in the Massachusetts Senate race was very, very indicative of the mood of these independents. In Massachusetts, Barack Obama won with 62%, and then a year later, Massachusetts sent Scott Brown, a Republican, to the Senate. Just a year later. So those independents, the pollsters are saying, were very powerful in switching from Obama over to Republican Scott Brown.
Senator, we've seen an attempts to be, particularly in governorships, to serve as an independent, get elected as an independent. What makes you think that somehow you won't run into the same gridlock that you dealt with when you were a senator here in Washington, that you won't run into the same gridlock in Rhode Island? We've seen it, Jesse Ventura. We've seen it in Maine with Angus King. We saw it in Alaska. I can run down. Every single independent governor has talked about the frustration of gridlock, and it's mostly because they're not a member of either party, and both parties tie their hands.
Well, you're right. There's no recipe for opening up the gridlock. Independence, not a magic wand, but certainly I think one of the differences is the primary pull that the parties put. You're always afraid of a primary. On the Democrats, a primary from the left, and the Republicans, a primary from the right. So it makes it difficult for the politician to come to the middle. And an independent doesn't have that fear of being primaried, as I said, from either the left or the right. So you can more govern from the center. And ultimately, if you have to work with your General Assembly, your legislative body, I think it would make it easier. You did cite the case of Angus King. I think he had more success than Jesse Ventura did in Minnesota, Angus King in Maine. I think he had a fair amount of success dealing with his legislature.
Sir, isn't it, you mentioned it might be easier to run or govern as an independent, but I wonder if it might be more complicated, because unlike Republicans or Democrats, the great middle doesn't necessarily have some cohesive, unifying philosophy on policy other than we're sick of Republicans and Democrats.
Yes, well, we'll see. Hopefully I'll get elected and test whether an independent can govern effectively. And I do think it's changing. I mean, the weariness of the gridlock is, I think, higher than ever. And Obama's big win was a lot of it was due to his pledge to be post-partisan. And that just hasn't happened. And what happened in Massachusetts with the election there, the voters saying, you didn't deliver on this post-partisanship, and so we're going to try something different, even sending a Republican to the Senate. So I think the voters are very restless right now, more than ever.
Very quickly, Senator, why do you want to be governor? Why you?
Well, I love Rhode Island, and I know we can do better. And I was a successful mayor of the second largest city here, and I enjoy very greatly the challenges of moving a community forward, and I'm confident that I can do that with this great state of Rhode Island.
Is there a big policy push that you're trying to do, a big fix, something you want to revoke or add? Is there one big issue theme you're running on?
It's all about the economy right now. Rhode Island has an unacceptably high unemployment rate, and that's the biggest challenge of all, getting our people back to work.
All right. Senator Lincoln Chafee, former Senator Lincoln Chafee, running for governor of Rhode Island. Thanks very much for joining us on the Daily Rundown.
My pleasure.
All right.
Have a great day.
Okay.